Chris, that's a long way you're going on a bicycle. What led you to it?
It is a long way. I guess the story goes back to 2011. And by that stage, I had started focusing on India, and I was the chairman of the India practice at a law firm called Herbert Smith Freehills, which is where I've been for the last 35 years. And I thought I'd done one previous charity event, but I wanted to do something very much focused on India. India had already at that stage become something of my second home. And I'd been training for a long bike ride in Europe. And in fact, I decided with some friends to cycle from London to Gibraltar. And
which you did?
Which I did, but I hadn't at that stage decided which charity to support in India, but it was clear that it should be something in India. And it was complete happenstance, but there was a business delegation from Gujarat who came to the city, and I happened to sit next to Lord Raj Lumba, as he then became. And you can imagine, as I told him this story about wanting to raise some money for a charity in India, that his eyes sparkled and his ears pricked up.
So he, in fact, inspired you to do this?
Well, he inspired me to support the Lumba Foundation. At this stage, I'd already decided I wanted to do a long bike ride in Europe, from London to Gibraltar. But I hadn't yet decided on the charity. And so he said, what about the Lumba Foundation? So he told me all about it. I went to visit him at his offices, and I was really struck by the cause. And I thought, yeah, that would be great. I'd love to support you. And the added benefit is that Raj agreed to meet me in Gibraltar. And in fact, he did. He was true to his word, and he met me in Gibraltar. And that really led to some subsequent events, which ultimately has led to this challenge.
Gibraltar is not easy, but it is comfortable in ways relative to India. And you did this walk then from Mumbai to Bangalore.
I did.
And when was that, and how long did that take?
Yeah, so I had this strange notion after I'd done the bike ride, about 2 years before 2015, because I knew 2015 was going to be the year in which I would celebrate my 30th anniversary at my law firm, HSF. And I came up with this notion of 30 years to be matched by 30 marathons in 30 days.
Right.
And rather than doing something in Europe, I wanted to actually do something in India. So what I thought would be a good idea, and it seemed like a good idea 2 years out, would be to walk from Mumbai to Bangalore, because that was pretty much 30 marathons in 30 days distance.
Touch wood, and we will wish that you have a very safe and comfortable walk or cycle ride ahead, and it's going to be quite a challenge. This one is quite different. You're planning to go 4,500 kilometers at 100 kilometers a day on a bicycle. And for a start, will you have some support team with you?
Well, I'm going to try and replicate what I got last time. So I've been very fortunate. The UPL group have agreed to give a large donation of $30,000 and to provide money for the car and the driver. So we're hoping that we can use the same driver that we did last time, because he was great and we got on very well with him. And then the idea is that Atul again will join me, but this time for 2-week stretches, and then swap him with another member of the Lumba Foundation, a guy called Pawan. So they'll do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off in the car. And then we're trying to find a physio at the moment. I'm confident that we'll be able to find someone, and they will support me in the car.
And you've got your route sorted out?
Yeah, so there's this extraordinary man based in Mumbai. He used to be a broker in Mumbai, but his real passion is Indian roads, and he's known as, his name is Kumar, HV Kumar, and this road grouping that he's put together is known as the Highway King Club, HVK, Highway King. And he's got something like 30,000, 40,000 followers, and he supports people around India. He knows Indian roads better than anybody. And in fact, Google apparently use a number of his maps for their maps of India, because he knows the roads so well. And he's planned out the route, and I have 100% confidence that he will have got it right.
Right. And so, broadly speaking, what is the route?
So we start in Kanyakumari on Monday the 3rd of February. We make our way up to Bangalore, to Hyderabad, to Varanasi, which is where we supported widows last time. Then we go across to Delhi, I think is next, and then Lucknow, and then we ultimately find our way into Kashmir to Srinagar for the ending.
Why Srinagar and what in Srinagar?
So why Srinagar? The original plan, I mean, a number of people have done what's referred to as the K to K, so Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And initially I was thinking of doing north to south. That's because, other people have done it that way around. The weather won't be so good in Kashmir in February, and this was the time of the year that I wanted to do it, not least because it would then be cooler in the south. And it just became sensible to start then in the south. I've always had a passion about wanting to go to Kashmir and Jammu. I've heard it's just stunning.
Right, and you're aiming to raise at the least $450,000.
That's my...
And so where will that be spent? Who is that for?
So just to give you a sense, when I did the 30 marathons, I was very fortunate to be able to raise $30,000, and in that case, all of the money was used for widows, 5,000 widows in Varanasi. We were able to train them on the use of Singer sewing machines, and then we were able to buy them a new Singer sewing machine each, and they were each given one to hopefully earn a living. And what I've agreed this time with Raj is that we're going to focus on widows in Jammu and Kashmir. And the idea is that we will give them a variety of training in the hospitality sector so that they will be able to earn a living. So whether it's tailoring, whether it's cooking, whether it's knowledge about tourism, so a whole series of things all to do with the hospitality sector.
And this would be done through the Lumba Foundation?
Everything will be done through the Lumba Foundation. So all the money I've raised has gone directly to the Lumba Foundation, either in the UK, or in the US, because there's a branch in the US, or most significantly in India, and it's gone straight to their accounts. And having seen Raj in action and his team, I know that I can have 100% confidence that every single penny will be spent on looking after widows in Jammu and Kashmir.
Do you have any concerns over the political concerns over Kashmir?
No, and I guess that was an added benefit, that I thought that maybe it would be good to show that Kashmir was open and that I was happy to go there and to be seen in Kashmir. No, I'm not worried about that, and I'm very excited about going to see it and being there.
4,500 kilometers of cycling is a lot to do. You're doing this for a cause that you believe in, that you're convinced about. But also, is there something more personal for you here? A personal physical challenge? Because this is also a mental challenge other than being a physical challenge. So if it's not too intrusive, would you share your thoughts on what this means to you personally?
Yeah, no, of course, Sanjay. And you're right to pick that out, because I guess the two... so there are three reasons that I've thought carefully about why I'm doing this, and why I have done this in the past, actually. So the first reason, which is the one really we've been talking about, which is around that for the most part I've been very fortunate in the life that I've had, in the job that I've had, in the earnings I've been able to generate. And it seems only proper in those circumstances that I should do something for somebody else, and that's really important to me. So that's the first and important reason. But there are two other very personal reasons. That the second reason is that, and I've shared this publicly, and I've spoken publicly about this, and I've shared blogs and stories on LinkedIn and things. But I, through much of my career at the firm, luckily not in the last 15 years, but for the first 20 years or so, I suffered from very serious stress, anxiety, which led ultimately to some serious bouts of depression when I was really very ill, and I used to self-medicate, I guess, that depression with alcohol, because that reduced the anxiety, it reduced the stress. Now the problem with that, of course, is that if you self-medicate for long enough and in large enough quantities, the danger is you'll become addicted to the substance, and that's actually what happened. So I became...
Replace one difficulty with another.
And in fact I had then really had two. So I had mental health issues around depression and things, coupled with the related addiction. And so the second reason, I think I would say, is that people with, and I've discussed this with many other people who suffer from addictions, is that people tend to do things to excess. And so an addictive personality will result in somebody doing something. So rather than doing one marathon and raising some money, I end up doing 30. Rather than doing one, or 2 days or 3 days long cycle, I end up doing 45. So there's an issue around this sort of addictive, excessive personality. And then the final one, so that's the second reason. The third reason is, I guess, the most personal of all. I think part of the reason that I went on in life to struggle with mental health issues is that, and I've learnt this because I sit on the board of a charity called MQ Mental Health Research, which is the leading research charity in the UK. And what the research there has shown me is that many people who go on to struggle with mental health issues, the seeds are sown in childhood.
Yes.
And for me, that would certainly be true. And I had a very difficult relationship with my dad. Bless him, he passed away last year. And he struggled with me at home. He struggled with the relationship that I had with my mum, in the sense that, to the extent that her emotional energies were focused on me and my sisters, it meant that they were taken away from him. And so he found me, I guess, at best an irritant, and at worst a sort of public enemy number one. And he wanted me out of the house, gone as soon as possible. And so that gave birth to these high levels of anxiety. And it also meant that I had little or no affirmation from my dad growing up. And I've subsequently learned that people who've had very, very little affirmation, they're very then hungry to have affirmation by doing other things. And so the third, I guess, not so noble reason, but it's a real reason, is that by doing something significant like this, I receive affirmation from other people, and people say, well done, Chris, because it's amazing what you're achieving. And so in doing that, I'm still hungry for the affirmation that I never got from my dad. So I guess that's the third and very personal reason.
Chris, it's very courageous of you to share this so honestly with us. But surely, in varying degrees, these are issues we all live with. And who is to measure what degree for who? These are so subjective. Given difficulties of the kind you have had to endure, and given that these are difficulties of some kind that we all endure, do you think it is an idea to break out of that cycle, do something new, bold, different, challenging, just to yank yourself out of it? Is that a thought?
So is the question that there needs to come a time where I let go of that? And I don't need
by doing
to.
Something remarkably different.
Yes.
Incorrect.
Yes. But it's, that might have been the case. I mean, I've cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats. I've cycled from, as we've discussed, from London to Gibraltar. I've done the 30 marathons. You'd have thought maybe if I was going to break out of it, maybe I would already have broken out of it.
These things have their own time.
Yeah.
We can't look at the calendar and set an appropriate date.
No. And I certainly share your view that, all of us unquestionably a work in progress. All of us will have, to one extent or another, some challenges and things. And it would be nice. And I have, I've had counselling around this, and I've talked about my interrelationship with my dad, and I've sort of come to terms with it a great deal. But there's obviously something there gnawing away at me that means that I still continue to do these things.